Okay, so here we are on the My Groceries app, and this is part two of organizing dictionary objects in lists. In this section, we are going to, instead of having this list that is pre-made, we're going to have the user type in information here, which then fills this list. Now, at the bottom, as you recall, I have some test information, so I can test this list and it just picks this up and it throws it right in there if I wanted to test with it, or I can empty it. That's where this code starts. It basically it initializes the screen to whatever data you happen to have on your phone and or on the device itself. And if it goes out and it gets the data that's out there, if it finds something in the word in the tag with the tag grocery list, it throws it into the global grocery list variable. And if it doesn't, it initializes it with an empty list. Either way, whatever lands in that grocery list variable is also going to be displayed to the screen in this list area right here, the list view. And then these buttons down here at the bottom, test use and empty list, these are the reset and test list buttons. Test list, reset, that's this code right here. There's a cute little piece of code here at the top that says there's a checkbox here, and if you checked it, it says done, and if you uncheck it, it says not yet. That's this code here. So now we're going to get down into the heart of what it takes to update this list. And there are two basic things I want to talk to you about today, and one is data validation, and the other one is how you go about creating the list item number, the dictionary item number, so that you have a classic key that links what's happening in this dictionary to what item it is in this list. And this is how you can really get a lot of value out of this combination if you store the key for this right in the list, right in the dictionary key. So let's first talk about data validation. All good programmers who are using data make sure that their users don't just enter garbage, garbage, garbage. Without data validation, if your user right now said save button and they just click, 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 it would just make empty, 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 empty crap all over the screen. This would be a nuisance. So you want to avoid nuisance errors by creating data validation routines. Data validation routines are often lengthy because you're checking every single box and maybe multiple things in every box to make sure that they're valid for a variety of reasons. We're just going to test these boxes for whether they are filled in. And we're only going to test these two boxes. But even still, I've taken this data validation routine and thrown it down to the bottom here. So we'll look at this data validation routine. Now, when I was running through this, I was having some difficulty programming it. So you can see that there's a bunch of disabled blocks in here, and they all say valid label. Text, set it to false, set it to no title, set it to no quantity, set it to true. This is a testing strategy so that on the bottom here, you can see exactly which piece of code you've fallen through because you said no title. So I took one of these boxes right here, this valid label box that I created, and just set it to what was happening. And the last time I tested this thing, it said no title. So, okay, I'm confirming that that's the reason that something happened. So that's a beautiful way to figure out what is really happening in your code. Just throw what you think is happening here. And then if you don't get that thing and you get something else, go, oh, now I see it. Okay, but that validity checking of what the user is doing and making sure that they have filled stuff in, you basically set a variable to false at the beginning, a valid data to false. Then if they pass all these tests, they'll fall through all the bad things that happen. They'll come down to the bottom and the only remaining thing is true. And then it will flip this binary, it will flip it to true, and then it will return true as a result from the function called data is valid. So you start it at false, you get it to true only if it meets all the criteria. In this case, we have to say, if the grocery label is empty, then call a notifier, hey, fill the grocery label and return false. If that's got something in it and the data is, and the quantity is blank, then you say, hey, please enter a quantity for this item. And then once again, you fall out of this if statement, you return a false. The data is not valid. If you have something in both boxes, it will fall through, turn it to true, and you're back into your validity of your data. Now we're going to run back up and we're only going to just examine this data entry type add. The data entry type add, basically all it does is it says, okay, I know the data is valid. So if my entry type, if I'm on an add and not an edit, then I'm going to take whatever is up here in these boxes, in these text boxes, 2 text boxes and a checkbox, and I'm going to throw them into the dictionary with the corresponding key name in the dictionary value. So I take the grocery name text box and throw it into the item name. I throw the quantity text box into the quantity key in the dictionary. And I throw the picker checkbox, whatever's in there, I throw that true or false value into the picked value of the dictionary, the picked key of the dictionary. Now, in addition, there's this calculated field. This calculated field is an item number. And basically what's happening here is we're saying, hey, I'm about to update an item in a list whose name is grocery list. I want to know how long, before I do the update, how long is that list right now? It turns out I look over, there's nothing in the list. So this length of this list, the length of grocery list is 0. If I add 1 to it, that will be the number that I'm going to put on this item. In this case, it's going to be milk. So when I type milk in here, and I want, I don't know, I want 2 gallons of milk, 3 gallons of milk, and then I save this item, it's going to come up with item number 1 right here. Because item number 1, I started with a blank list. I added 1 to get to the index of 1. I added it to here, and then as soon as I added this dictionary item to the list, all of a sudden the list was 1 long. And this is now dictionary index number 1. If I come through and I add another item to the list, hang on, let me wait just a sec. After it falls through this, it decides whether it's going to add or update. It comes down to the bottom and it says, okay, I'm going to hide the keyboard. If it popped up on the screen, I'm going to get rid of it so I can see the list. I'm going to store all this data that I just put in this grocery list, and I just put it in here. I added it to the list. So I'm going to take that grocery list and I'm going to put it in the tag called grocery on my phone or on my device and save it permanently. Then if after I save it permanently, I want to make sure I don't make the same mistake people make all the time, that I can't see it on the screen. I must not have done it. I'm going to also take that list and stick it in the list viewer so that I know these 2 things always go together. I store data and I show data. Store data, show data, store data, show data. Now, because I have put that milk in the list, I want to wipe it out of this space up here. I no longer want it to be in this space. So I reset these text boxes to blank, and this picked checkbox, it's only binary. The only choices are true or false, and the default is going to be false because I haven't yet picked it yet. It's going to come up as not yet picked. And then I'm going to want to go right back to add mode. Even if I am editing later, as I'll show you how to edit, I'm going to wipe out this thing and go straight back to add mode every single time. Okay, in the next video, I'm going to talk to you about how to edit an item in a list using user data.